Go to your talk about your career a little bit. 95, you're a third round pick of the Rangers. Get traded in the minor leagues to the Marlins. Make your debut in 98. You're an all star in 2000. Play there till '02. You go to the Reds. You play for Bob Boone for a few. Your teammates, I believe, with Aaron, right at the time.
He was my roomie when I got traded over. He said, "Hey, you want to come stay with me till you find a place?" I didn't want to leave, but he eventually kicked me out.
I'm looking at your skippers. You had Dusty, you had Pinella, Lou, and you mentioned Lou earlier. I mean, to this day, I mean, we started so rocky. I mean, when I was a kid and my attitude to just get off my lawn, and I got this skipper coming from Cincinnati, they'd won a World Series, and they told me all about Pinella, and I just thought my first spring training with him, like, this is a mean man. I don't like this guy, and he's just busting my balls all the time. Fast forward, I come back and play for him the second half of my career at Cincinnati, and to this day, not only my favorite manager of all time, one of my favorite men that I've ever been around in the game of baseball. And I don't know, it's you bring him up, he always puts a smile on my face. At the All-Star game,
Yeah,
where we got to catch up a little bit, I got to spend a little time with Skip, and it was cool because I'd wind him up. That was kind of my job back when I played for him. It was my job to wind him up. Like, hey, Skip, can you believe what happened today?
I love
And get
winding him up.
Oh, and get him on one of those rants and let him go. And he just, yeah, Boone, what do you think about this? I won't get into the specifics because sometimes they're not G rated. But oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pretty unbelievable.
Yeah,
Uh
he was just one of those guys, that he was hard. He was hard around the edges. He was hard as a player. Like his upbringing was hard, and then he fought and scrapped and clawed in New York. Like he played in a tough town, and in an era where that's kind of how guys played. And so I understood all that about him, but there was this tremendous soft side to him when you got away from that. A great love for family. And I think everything he went through when his mom passed away really opened that up, like in a big way. His heart grew a lot then. Just probably sitting there going, man, I could have a little bit more compassion for some people at times. We saw him in the end of his managerial career, right? So he was a little bit more like, you guys just go play. I'll take care of the media and do the interviews and all that kind of stuff. But if you stood up to him, I felt like in the right way, like he came out in Cincinnati and my first game ever closing for him with the Cubs. It was 2007, and I hadn't pitched since Friday in Vegas. And Booney, you know how those Vegas trips go when you go play exhibition games there. Let's
no,
just
I have no idea.
yeah, I threw more chips around than baseballs, I think, that weekend. So, but it was one of those things where I hadn't pitched in like 5 or 6 days. I get the first guy out, I walk Encarnacion, we're winning 8-1, and he comes out to the mound and basically told me like, "What's your problem? Throw the ball over the plate." And then the next day, I go into his office and I said, "Hey, Skip, can I talk to you?" He goes, "What is it, son?" I go, "Hey, I'm your closer, right? Like I'm the closer of the team." And he's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, like, shouldn't the only reason you come to the mound and be take me out because I've blown a save? Like, I don't need a pep rally. This is my first year in the league." And he goes, "Oh, okay." Not one time did he come back out unless he was saying, "Give me the ball." That was it. And after that moment, our relationship was great, and really great. And he treated me and my family really well. And yeah, it was great to see him at the All Star game too. I love him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. If he respects you, he's got to respect you as a man and as a baseball player.
Hmm.
But if he respects you in both aspects, that man will take a bullet for you. He
Yeah.
really will. And if he doesn't respect you in one of those categories, you might want to move on because life can. I've seen him make life tough on some players. Had Smoltz on recently, and you went a similar route. You're a starter, you became a closer, and then you were a starter again. How tough was that for you? What did you enjoy more?
Uh, Tough wise, it wasn't that hard. It was kind of an interesting kind of dynamic. So what had happened was after I had my surgery in Cincinnati and Kremchuk did my elbow in 2003, Cubs signed me that Chris Carpenter deal that he did back in the day with the Blue Jays, where it was like 1 year plus a team option if you're healthy. So the Cubs did the same thing. They're like, listen, you can rehab with the team. If you're healthy, we'll pick up the team option. So I was rehabbing as a starting pitcher. Everything I was doing was a starting pitcher, but we had Pryor, Wood, Maddox, Clement, Zambrano in our rotation. Let's just say I didn't fit in, and they were all pitching well. This was '04. So I'm rehabbing away and I'm making start after start and A ball and then triple A. I'm down in Iowa and I just called up Bake and I was like Dusty and Jim Henry and I was like, guys, like I'm healthy. I'm throwing the ball great. Like, what if I relieve and then instead of start? And they're like, you would do that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'd much rather pitch for us in the big leagues than pitch in the minor leagues again, so I did a couple relief appearances, never really had relieved since my beginning of my career, a couple relief appearances. And it went well. It was weird coming back from Tommy John because you have these ups and downs where some days you know exactly where the ball's going and nothing hurts, but the next day you're throwing it off the backstop. Like it's just what happens. You just kind of have these inconsistent moments, and then got in a groove. Dusty was pitching me a lot, felt great. Finished the year good. We didn't make the playoffs. Come to spring training '05, you're going to start. So I make 6 starts, and we can't save any games. LaTroy was struggling, and Dusty's like, "Hey man, can you close?" And I was like, all right, cool, let's do this, And so then '05 was a magical year. I mean, it's 33 of 35 in saves. Didn't give up a run in September. It was a good tear to go on. '06 started out great, and then we just hit a rut. I wasn't closing many games out. I wasn't pitching well when I did come in. And then '07, and then Lou said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a shot to start again." And hands down, I mean, I love starting. Like relieving's great. The chance to contribute each and every day for your team is pretty awesome. But as a starting pitcher, man, like there's a big onus on every 5th day that
Right.
you can stop losing streaks. You can keep winning streaks going. I mean, there's a reason why starting pitchers are getting paid $40 million a year to pitch because you can really change the dynamic of your team. You can save a bullpen. So I took a lot of pride in that, and plus, I like to golf, so those 4 days off in between are pretty tasty.
And from a position player standpoint, it is. We rely on you, and especially the year. '08, you come back, you're an all-star, you win 17 games. I know that year when Ryan comes into the locker room and it's his day to start, I know we got a good chance tonight. And that's huge from a psychological standpoint on the position players in that room. When we're having one of those good years, we got a couple starters they're having really good years. Man, it feels good to walk in and go, all right, he's pitching tonight. We got a chance. So you have a good outlook going in. And I've been on those years where our rotation was having a tough time, and it's like, wow, we're gonna have to fight and we're gonna have to, do everything we can to win this game tonight.
Well, and too, as a hitter, dude, like when you got good
Same
stuff,
thing.
what's going to happen? You're going to have a lot of leads. So who are you facing? The B relievers.
Exactly.
But when you're down all the time, now I got to face the setup guy and the closer every night.
Right. I think about that. I think about that all the time. And on the really good years that I had, personally and team wise, it's like I never have to face those nasty guys. They're always got the mop up guy coming in.
Yep.
That's why my average was better than it normally is. You finish in Chicago, you go to the Rangers, and then you finish it ends up being your last year. And I thought this was the cool part when I'm going through your life and your career. So we start this game for a reason. We want to be big leaguers. We become big leaguers. We want to be all-stars. Become all-stars. We want to win. We want to go to the postseason. You had some postseasons in your career. But the ultimate is winning that World Series. And not too many of us not only get a chance, but a lot of great players, they don't even get to a World Series, let alone win one, let alone win multiple. I thought it was really cool. Your final year, 2013, with the Red Sox, you win a ring. Now, you've been to the postseason, I think 2 or 3 times before that?
Yeah, 3 times before that, yeah.
3 times. Was there anything different about that 2013 year? Well, this year is different. And you end up winning in your final year. It's pretty awesome topping to a pretty good, pretty great career for Ryan Dempster. Take me through if there was a difference and what it was like doing it in Boston.
Yeah, there was a difference. I think, given the kind of, circumstances that took place with the Boston bombing, I started that day on April 15th, Patriots Day, and leaving the ballpark after the game, and we have the police motorcade that takes us to the airport all the time, and all of a sudden, boop, 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 they all just leave. We didn't. Nobody. I think Will Middlebrooks had Twitter, and he's like, "There's a bombing, downtown." And so then they got us out. We went to Cleveland. The comeback from Cleveland, the game canceled because they still hadn't caught the guy. And then after they caught the guy, and then before Poppy went out there and had his moment where he dropped "This is our fucking city" stuff, and it was amazing. He goes, the best was he goes, "I don't know what I'm going to say yet, but you're not going to want to miss it," which I thought was really awesome. But we walk in the locker room, and in our locker room on Saturday before the game was the governor, the mayor, the head of the chief of police, the head of the FBI, the head of the Secret Service, multiple special forces, police officers, firefighters. And Booney couldn't move, dude. It was just jam packed in there. And I remember Johnny Gomes looking at me and going, "Ryan, look around. We can't lose. Dude. Like, we have all these people with us." And I think for the first time in my career on any team I'd ever been on, we didn't give two shits about the other teams. We didn't care. We didn't care how good you were. We didn't care how bad you were. We didn't. We only cared about ourselves and what we could do as a unit together. We just cared about going out there and trying to out execute you. If somebody didn't get it done, the other guy was going to get it done. It was almost like that was the mentality. It's like, if you don't get it done, well, then I'll get it done. And took it as an excitement instead of like, "Oh, I got to get this done." It was like, "Oh, wait, I get to do it. I get to be the one that gets the walk off hit. I get to be the one that ends the winning or losing streak." So there was like this great, powerful, encompassing, tight unit of we didn't. The outside noise was just noise. No matter what anybody was saying at any point, like Johnny Gomes told the grounds crew guy to paint our name on the top of the scoreboard. So it's like Boston, Tampa Bay. They have like the leaders in the AL East.
Oh yeah.
He walks over and goes, "Hey, Chief, just paint it up on the top." He goes, "This is in May." And he goes, "I don't know where the other ones are going to fall, but you can go ahead and paint ours right there." And it's really how it was. We were just so self-consumed with us and what we could do. It was incredibly special. And like, and then to know the last pitch I ever threw in the big leagues was a strikeout end game one of the World Series, was just like, you think about that moment like as a kid in your backyard, and you mentioned being a big leaguer, like, oh, I'm thinking I'm, Jack Morris in game 7 of the World Series. Well, that was my Jack Morris moment. It was like I'm in the World Series game 1, and to get out of that. And the best, by the way, speaking of Johnny Gomes, so I gave up we were winning 8-0. I gave up a rather long home run, a solo shot to Matt Holliday. I thought a changeup was a good pitch to throw him. And and so he crushes it, and we're in the shower afterwards, and we're you're celebrating, but it's like you're not celebrating a lot. You're just excited. And Johnny's showering up, and he looks over me and goes, "Hey, Ryan, good thing you gave up that home run, huh?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "Well, if you would have finished with a 0 ERA, nobody would have thought you pitched." And I was
That's true. That is true.
I was like, "Yeah, you
Oh,
got."
he must have missed that one. They must not have used him. Yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah,
And it's
incredible.
because we all go through it. And I remember '95 is the first time I went to the playoffs, and we ran into that buzzsaw Braves team. I was on a good Cincinnati Reds team. '94, we were great. Then that was a strike year. Then '95 we go to the postseason. And I'm just thinking at that point, we got beat by the Braves. It was a great team. But I thought, man, I'm gonna get 2 or 3 rings. This gonna be easy peasy. I got to go to a World Series in '99. Got my butt kicked by the Yankees, but I look back and the guys that were able to win a ring. It's so special. Like I said, because there's a lot of guys out there, man, a lot of great players that not only didn't get to win a ring, didn't even get to have a chance, didn't even get to go to a World Series. So pretty awesome way to end your career. You retire after that year. I don't think you retired like right away. You kind of said, I need some time with my family. You end up retiring in 14, 132 wins in your career, 87 saves, World Series champion. That's the way you finished. Okay, I want to get to this. And this will be the final segment. I know I've kept you a long time. I want to let you go, but crystal ball this season, 6 teams. Who are your 6 National League teams? Obviously, the Braves. I'll get that one out of the way for you. That's for sure. And probably now Dodgers with the math. You can't really catch the Dodgers. All right, go from there.
So my other 4 are going to be Milwaukee,
Okay.
Philadelphia, the Cubs.
The Cubs. You're throwing the Cubs at.
I throw the Cubs in there. They might win the division if they're not careful. And then my last team, and I'm going to throw them in there. Is I'm gonna sneak on the line here and say the Marlins.
Marlins have been doing some special things. They've been doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, and then they made all these trades. They kind of like trading deadline, kind of like what the Braves did a couple years ago when they added like Duvall and Rosario, and they weren't like these big splash pieces, but they're all these little pieces. And then I just like when I along the lines. I mean, I'm a pitcher, and I look at Alcantara is throwing the ball great right
Yeah.
now. He doesn't have the peripheral numbers of the Cy Young, but he's leader in the major leagues in innings pitched, and he's a stud, and he's throwing well. And you got Luzardo, who's turning himself into what everybody expected him to be in Oakland. A guy left. They have that lefty, Braxton Garrett, another kid stud. I worry, and then Yuri Perez. I really wish they wouldn't have sent Yuri Perez down. I wish they just would have let him keep pitching because it's tough to win ball games in the big leagues, and he was on this great roll, trying to limit innings. I get that, but you got 4 really good, solid starting pitchers. So I just like that over the course of the next however many weeks we got left, was 7 weeks or so. So yeah, those are my teams right there. I was between the Marlins and the Giants. I could see the Giants doing it too. They just find a way to win ball games. Gabe Kapler's a good manager.
American League, same question.
Yeah, well, Texas for sure. Minnesota. I mean, the AL Central division's terrible, and Minnesota actually play good baseball right now, so they might run away with that. In the East, Baltimore to me is the best team in baseball, and I'm not taking anything away from the Braves or the Dodgers. I think the Braves are unbelievable too, but as far as top to bottom, back into the bullpen, good luck with the mountain there.
Bautista at the end. He makes me, and I'm well past the age where you could consider it, but he really makes me glad I don't have to grab a bat. When I watch Bautista, I'm like, you kidding me?
Oh my
I'd have to go hit that right now.
And what a good job Brandon Hyde is doing of managing that, by the way. Like he had like that, he blew a save against Houston, and then he had a tough outing, and then they had like a save opportunity a couple days later, and he's like, no, I've rode this guy hard. I'm going to let him just breathe a little bit, and then I'm going to ride him hard again down the stretch. So, yeah, I think they make it. So you got Baltimore, Texas, Houston, Minnesota, and I'm going to say Toronto. And I'm going to say I'm going to just totally dive out deep here, okay? I'm doing this for you because you're a Mariner. I'm going to say the Mariners make it and Tampa Bay falls out.
Tampa Bay.
They lost Shane McClanahan.
Yeah.
Tyler Glasnow's hurting again. There's the Wander Franco stuff that's going on. There's all kinds of these other things, And remember, look at their numbers since they're red hot 29 and
right. They have fallen a lot. Wow, yeah. I didn't expect that to be. I would say if you said Seattle instead of Toronto, I'd say okay, but the Tampa Bay, that's a big call.
We're just going to see a Seattle-Toronto rematch again this year. That'd be awesome.
The Seattle thing for me is, and I said it all along, because in my opinion, they played below expectations all year. Because I keep a special eye on them, and I see that starting rotation, and it is elite. Those young pitchers, that Kirby kid he's going to win a Cy Young one day. You got Gilbert.
You name a better 1, 2, 3 in the league. I don't know if there is.
Castillo, right? And then they're bringing these young kids up, and they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So in that bullpen solid, they get rid of Seawald at the deadline. I'm kind of going. They blew a save last night when they normally would have Seawald there. They don't have there. I don't know why they did that. They creeped back in. They were in the wild card, and now they lost 3 in a row. So yeah, I like your call in Seattle that they just pitch an awful lot to not make it. But that'll be interesting. All right. AL champs, NL champs. Who's going to the World Series?
AL champs, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles. I wanted to say the Texas Rangers. To me, that's a tough pick. Those two teams, and especially with Texas, with Bochy leading the way there.
Right.
And you look at their offense, man, good God, do they swing the bats. And then getting Max Scherzer. But there's something about the Oriole magic. I don't know what it is. I've been riding it all year, so I'm sticking with it. I'm going to say the Orioles are going to play I'm going to say the Atlanta Braves. The Orioles and the Braves in the World Series.
And who wins?
At one point, that'd be fun.
Who wins it? I have a feeling what you're going to say.
Let's go.
And it ain't going to be the Braves.
Let's go, Baltimore. Let's do it. Come on,
All right,
Eider.
I love it. You
Yeah,
heard it here. Ryan
Homer
Dempster,
host.
he's got the Orioles. That will be impressive because I didn't think you were going to go that way. I have to admit, Baltimore, I thought it was a good story for a while. Oh, it's a great story. Baltimore's been in the basement for so many years. They keep doing it. They keep doing it, and they're winning those tight games. They're winning those one run ball games. Like you said, the back end of that pen is pretty darn nasty, and they got something about them. You've been on teams like that where you just kind of know you take the field, and the other team knows.
Yep.
Like, hey, it's 5-4 in the seventh, and we've got four, but we're going to come get you. And that look like, yeah, we do know you're going to come get us. Baltimore kind of has that look right now, so I understand where you're coming from on that. Demp, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on and give me a lot of insight. I love hearing what other guys that are in this game, watching these games every day, their opinions and what they see. And as much as we differ on some things, we agree on most things. I mean, I see a lot of things, just those players' eyes,
Yeah.
of what we see, and I really appreciate you coming on. Best of luck to all
Thanks.
your ventures. You got so many things going on, and I'm gonna hold you to this, and we'll catch up when we catch up. For all those out there watching the Boone podcast, I appreciate you watching. For those listening, appreciate you listening. We'll see you next time.